I'll call to order 5:04 p.m. This meeting is being videotaped and recorded. If anybody else wants to record the meeting, just please announce that you are going to be recording it. Thank you.
I would like to record the meeting. Okay. Wow, thank you.
Thank you. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How many? Oh, thank you. Do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Richardson?
What do you mean what happened?
Present.
Commissioner Peskin? Commissioner Bennett?
Here.
Commissioner Davis?
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Delgado? Here.
I'll do the approval of the minutes of the November 7th board meeting. I did have a couple of comments on where it says Commissioner Peskin, the residents on the third line. I think that should be for 307,000.
Missing zero.
Missing a zero on it.
Oh, okay.
Did you get the other one?
And then on the second page, agenda item 6, discussion of 400,000. I believe that should be 300,000. And then the second paragraph says Commissioner Richardson explained that he met, instead of using the word met, just change that to talk with the planning department.
Talk, I'm sorry, I did talk.
Talk, yes.
Anything else?
And then the fourth line down in that paragraph, just add the word for the Marshfield Housing Partnership.
Okay.
Anybody else have any other changes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the November 7th, 2023 board meeting as amended?
I make a motion. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next item on the agenda is the Tenants Association.
Okay, in November, we had Thanksgiving meals delivered by St. Christine's Church to us. Everybody was well received. Everybody, we sent the thank you card. We joined the Tenants, Massachusetts Tenants Union. I sent the check, they've cashed it, but I haven't heard anything more from them. We authorized 2 alternate new board members to be alternates, Robin Dunn and Don Clark.
Congratulations.
I'm discontinuing the birthday parties at the beginning of the month because nobody is coming to them and it's wasting money. I tried it for 4 months, nobody ever came. So. St. Christine's is also delivering a buffet-style meal for our Christmas party on December 23rd at 3 o'clock. And in January, we're going to have bingo on January 5th and 17th. I think that's it for the tenants.
The St. Christine's done this year after year.
They did it
Did it
last year for Thanksgiving only. And this year they've done it at Easter, they did it at Thanksgiving, and they're gonna do it for Christmas.
Great.
And they're also delivering in the packages to
They do.
families.
They're gonna deliver packages to the families.
Nice,
So, yes.
They are very good to us.
very nice.
And I believe they provide meals for Grace Ryder as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments from the tenants? Yes.
Hi, John Clark, 18 T Rock Garden. And I have a question from the residents to all the board commissioners. It says, "We, the residents of T Rock Garden, have a question for the board of commissioners. On the November 15th episode of Mr. Pacevich's Control Room podcast, he stated that per an email of Kathleen Maresco, that the Marshfield Housing Partnership and the Marshfield Housing Authority have been merged into the Marshfield Housing Trust without any vote or discussion from the Board of Commissioners of the Marshfield Housing Authority. Is this true? And if so, when did the merger take place? How will this affect the future of the Marshfield Housing Authority operations, respectively, the residents of T Rock Gardens?"
May I please see that, just so that I fully understand? Thank you. Good. So, I personally know, what this letter says again is per email of Kathleen Maresco, that the Marshfield Housing Partnership and the Marshfield Housing Authority have been merged into the Marshfield Housing Trust without any vote or discussion from the Board of Commissioners of the Marshfield Housing Authority. If this is true, and if so, when did the merger take place? So, you know, as the acting chair, I can tell you that the Marshfield Housing Authority has not been merged into the Marshfield Housing Trust. Solely the Marshfield Housing Partnership has been merged into the Marshfield Housing Trust. So that, you know, this will not affect the future of the Marshfield Housing Authority operations, since we did not merge. May I ask if you made that comment?
I know, if you want to put it on the agenda, I can bring in the necessary materials if you want, to see what reference there is to that.
Sure, we can put it on the agenda for
Sure.
Can we have an explanation or a summary? Because I didn't watch it, so.
I have it on my phone if anybody wants to see it.
It's,
I
well,
just
it's
wanna
really,
understand.
I know that it is, I can imagine that it would create some kind of concern. But I'll just say this, because I know this, we're not supposed to get into discussion on such things, not on the agenda. But if you want to put it on your, but I will say that there is an email that states that. And if you want, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
There is an email that directly states that. So whether or not that was a misstatement by Ms. Maresco or not, I don't know. But literally, that's what it says. I don't have it with me. That's a result of, that's, so I understand where it would create alarm and concern, but it's literally what it says. You know, I can send it to you later on.
Sure, please. Could you make this a portion of the minutes, this meeting, and then we'll
So
make
in other words,
a
I
vote?
can't explain why that was stated that way.
We'll make a note to include it on the agenda for our January meeting.
It
Yes.
seems as though if that is an error, then Mr. Pacevic, we asked you to correct that record in your telecast because you did put out that information.
I don't know how to correct it, because I didn't say it. It's what somebody else
But you
wrote.
said it on your show.
I'm just referring to what's in writing, that's
Right,
all.
but you can also correct that and say,
I can't.
I found out that that's not true.
Can I just make a comment real quick? So anything that Mr. Gusevich says on his podcast outside of this meeting, it's outside the Marshfield Housing Authority. He's free to say what he wants. The question is a legitimate question. I think the board has addressed that. And so, you know, any comments made outside of this official body, the board itself can't speak to.
No, I was just asking
I-
him to correct the
Right.
record with the community at large.
But that's not a board issue, that's maybe just an issue between Mr. Pesevich and his listeners or whatever.
But again, because of the concern, I will give you the email so you can see.
Sure. Thank you for bringing that up. Any other comments from the tenants? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the accounts payable and payment. I just have one question on payment number 15624 to Eleanor Eastwood. It's a reimbursement.
What was the number, John?
Payment
There it is.
It's for Ellen.
Oh.
15624.
It's the tenant coordinator, and it's an expense that she incurred on one of her programs, reimbursable by the Housing Authority.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask if the reimbursement is materials or time or
No, it's not
It's
time,
it's materials, it's a purchase.
materials?
It's a purchase of materials for one of the programs that she's running.
I was just going to ask about the plumbing, that's a lot of non-staff plumbing expenses this month.
Plumbing,
Plumbing, yeah.
non-staff.
Well, it's like you're paying companies to do the plumbing. I thought you guys don't have the.
No, we do the plumbing. We had septic pumping.
Web, is Web?
Those are
Weber's materials.
Oh, okay.
Those are plumbing materials.
I have a follow-up on that. What is the 940 and what is the 6,000, the 5,900? It says they're both for the same location apparently.
Yeah, that was a water heater,
Which one is the water heater?
the 9,000.
940, you mean?
940, no, it would be, where are you? What page? are you
It's the
on?
second item of item 15636, page 5.
Right.
We have that here. And it's, it's on the bill.
When you're just writing the check for it? Or the invoice in there?
Oh, so you got it right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to hunt through?
I just thought James might know offhand.
I'm looking for it, I'm on page 5, I don't see where you're,
FW
oh,
Web,
FW Web right here. Yeah, so those are the repairs, the actual 5,059.87,
5987, yeah.
That's an invoice, that's the water heater.
That's a heater.
Yep,
Wow.
it's a boiler.
Oh, it's a boiler.
It's a boiler with a water tank. It's a combo unit,
Oh, I see. Okay. So they replaced it.
yes. And actually, we're trying to pursue a warranty on it,
Yep.
because it was towards the end of its warranty period, but we're working with FW Web to pursue a warranty on that item.
Is that oil fired, by the way?
What street is it?
It says 30 Old Crown.
Yes.
Yes.
That's gas
And
fired?
we, excuse me, we did get reimbursed for that. I have the invoices.
Oh, did it go through?
Yeah.
Okay, we were arguing with FW Web to get the reimbursement on that, so if John says that we got credited for it, then we got credit for it.
get I'm sorry, I'm not following.
So we paid the invoice,
Right.
we'll get credited back by FW Web, and it'll be credited onto our account,
Okay.
because we got the warranty to go through. So as,
Oh, I see.
so then we would be credited back for the boiler.
And I believe that just came in.
When, today?
Yeah, it didn't, the check hasn't, but I got the credit invoice.
Okay. So they received the credit today.
And there was another, looks like a possible another, what was it? What's it, the smaller one, a job under John Foster, a couple of lines down from that. Job,
John Foster's lumber.
Yeah, right, it's 15639, I was wondering what that was for, or what that was.
$394.43 for lumber and materials.
Was there a particular repair, do you recall?
There's no way that I would recall every
Okay.
invoice to the Housing Authority.
All right,
So like I said, if you have questions pertaining to certain invoices, and you want to come into the office and look up certain invoices, I think I've expressed that before.
excellent,
We're happy to do that, but
excellent.
as far as the memory of every invoice that gets
No,
purchased.
I understand,
not
I just
gonna
taking
happen.
a shot. Then the other thing that I had a question mark next to, so what I try to understand was Quincy Housing Authority, 80 Clay Street. There's multiple items here. Shower valve, it's
That's a shower valve project, that's a,
15644, that's the payment number.
what is it?
15644. It looks like it totals 36,000.
Yep, so those are various projects. So one is the managed agency fee, which is paid every month.
Right,
One is the September work orders. The other one is labor for certain projects that are force account projects.
right,
So if they're called out as specific projects,
right.
that means those are capital projects that the state is reimbursing Marshfield for.
Okay.
So Quincy does the work, Quincy builds Marshfield, Marshfield gets reimbursed by the state the amount, and it gets charged to a specific capital project.
Okay.
So those items don't come out of operations, they come out of capital.
Two capital.
So they're billed through Cap Hub, Marshfield gets reimbursed through Cap Hub, it gets
Okay.
drawn down on the capital plan, the operating account gets reimbursed, the operating account pays for the expense.
Okay, appreciate it, thank you. That's it, yeah, right. Excellent.
Any other questions on the accounts payable?
I'll make a motion. Motion to accept the accounts payable payment 15615 to 15660 for a total of $76,324.49.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr.
Thank
Peskovich?
you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was just distracted reading.
Next item on the agenda is number 6, motion to authorize the executive director to submit a grant application pursuant to PHN 2023-18 NOFA for resident services coordinator, requesting additional funding in the amount of approximately $10,000 each year, beginning fiscal year '24 to fiscal year '28.
So, Mr. Chairman, the Massachusetts Department of Housing has put out a public housing notice to all the housing authorities to increase their annual budget for the line item for resident service coordinators. We have a very, very active program here in Marshfield. It would be foolish of us not to request additional funding for the program. So we have put together this request, and we intend to submit it into the department with your blessing.
So I did just on our, I know they asked a number of things in this.
They asked us to update them on our relationships, our service providers, the programs that we're running, and to give them an overview of the program that we run here at the Marshfield Housing Authority.
Right. In your cover letter,
Yep.
Does the last paragraph that you wrote meet the requirement that they're stating, because somewhere in here I read they requested a certain statement be made, and I just want to make sure that your cover letter includes
I
everything.
believe it does.
Okay, thank you. And then I noticed that, Helen, you had listed the various items that, or other community services that, I'm wondering, have we used sowing seeds at all?
Yes.
And then Marshfield Senior Center,
Yes,
the Veterans Agent,
yes.
and any other, I put down Verizon programs.
Library delivery.
Okay, so, yeah, any other comments from the board of directors, other services that, has this been submitted already? Okay.
We can send in an amendment.
I'm wondering if we should add those other services.
Well, we could.
Truly, I don't think it's necessary.
No, I thought what we did was
I
mostly
think
the
the
food.
program is very, very
Senior
active.
center.
From what I know of most of the housing authorities, is a very, very active program. And I think that DHCD will very quickly see that this is a very active program.
Okay.
The one thing I agree with Kerry on is that they're talking about the local, the immediately local services. They're
Yep.
not included here. And I think can't hurt to add that.
I can certainly write a letter amending it.
Yeah, amended.
Well, this is coming from the tenants organization. so
Yeah, right, that's
I have
right.
to ask whether or not you want to.
Yeah, I can do it. We can do it.
So,
Thank you.
senior center, sowing seeds, library delivery, Marshfield Veterans Library, Moselle,
Veterans Agent.
Veterans Agent. So there's-
Rather than put the tenants association out, I'm happy to write a letter on behalf of the housing authority saying that the Board of Commissioners wish to bring this to the attention of DHCD,
Yes.
that this program also includes local social services, including blah, 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 and submit that in for you, rather than having to have the tenants association go through.
Yeah, I'd make a motion to have that.
Can we include the food pantry in there as well?
Yeah, that's 6 things. I make a motion to authorize an addendum.
We wrap that into one motion to approve this.
Yeah.
Just a couple other questions on,
The food pantry.
it's on page 1. It says mixed population coordinators. Are we a mixed population coordinator?
Yes, it's the position that's funded through the state.
And then we're invited to semi-regular calls with other mixed population service coordinators,
We attend all of
so
them.
we do attend. Thank you.
It's actually a requirement in the program.
Okay. So then on page 2, in the middle of the second paragraph, it says HLC encourages LHAs to identify the leverage or in-kind funds to use in conjunction with the RSC funds to support the staff position. How do we do that, if we do it at all?
We have not done it, and we've received the grant in the past years. It has not been requested from the department, so in the event they request that, we can certainly look into how they expect us to do that. But right now, they've been funding the position.
Okay. And then it also, in the last line in that paragraph, Says LHA should budget the higher number for the directed budget exemption in the next budget submission for the LHA fiscal year starting on or after July 1st, 23.
Right.
So did we do that too?
So that'll go into our new budget coming up. That'll go into our new budget cycle with the higher amount. To show it in the budget, to show that we're getting that money from the state for this program.
Okay.
What happened is the state, through the legislator, applied for additional funding for this program. They've seen a big success in this program across the state, so they applied for additional funding and they received it. So now they're dispersing that money out to the authorities to keep these programs going, because they're finding out that these social service programs have been successful. And they have.
I understand we're losing some because of competitiveness in salary.
So we have to stay active in this program and keep the program alive.
My name, Mr. Chairman. One other thing is I think they talk about which residents have access to these programs. How do we reach the scattered sites? And
We deliver notices and we notify the tenants of activities that we have going on and involve them. And we just delivered notices to them today.
okay.
So it's open to all of our residents.
So you saying that we already submitted our app?
We did, yeah. We had to.
Yeah, I know, it just said we had to do it by December 8th. So. Okay. On page 3, James,
Yep.
says the letter signed and dated by the LHA stating that the LHA agrees to accept an increase in RSC funding. That's what I think we may be missing in our language.
Well, I think by writing a letter requesting the increase, we're agreeing to.
We're agreeing to accept it.
Yeah, I think that's self-explanatory to the agency, I would think. I mean, they accepted our first application, and our first application was very similar to this. This is not for the grant, this is just for the increase in funding of the grant.
Right.
We already have the grant.
The extension.
This is just additional funding, not an extension. They're providing us with an extra $10,000 per year.
Oh,
as
an extra
additional-
on top of the 10 we just got.
Oh, we got way more than 10. We got, I think it's close to 50,000
Right.
per year.
Oh, okay.
This is increasing it by
By 10,
$10,000.
okay. Oh, I was wrong about that.
Yeah, so this isn't extending
I
the
didn't know it was
grant.
50.
This is increasing the amount annually.
Okay.
And like I said, that's basically due to them receiving additional funding for the program.
Just another point, and I'm reading in this,
Sure.
it says, in your letter, we have to commit to submitting the RSC report on required metrics annually.
And we
that
do.
attributes to 50 points.
We do.
So do we don't have to state that in your letter?
We already submitted. They know because they receive it anyway. So the application that you're looking at really is an application for a new grant. We already have the grant. So this is more or less a modification to ask for a $10,000 increase. We're not submitting in a whole new grant request.
Okay.
So they already know we attend meetings, they already know we submit in the updates, they already know that the program is up and running.
They just restate the grant requirements as part of the,
They're restating the program, but some housing authorities take the money, and then they don't roll out the program, and they're basically telling you that you have to be meeting these requirements, and we already meet them all.
yeah.
So, I don't think there's a problem.
All right, then we have to take a vote, because that has to be given to the OHLC.
Correct. So we'll submit in, after you take a vote, we'll submit that in and to the state, showing that you voted in favor of the additional funding.
Can I get a motion?
Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the item 6, to authorize executive director to submit the grant application pursuant to PHN 2023-18 with the provision also that an addendum be created regarding programs that the residents are taking in.
I'll second that.
All
All
those
in
in favor?
favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Passes unanimously. Thank you, James.
Sure.
Item number 7, motion to approve and authorize the executive director to execute a contract with DDM Company of Braintree, Mass. in the amount of $11,500 to install new flooring in 4 apartment units in all hallways, common areas at Grace Rider 667-2 development. Project will occur in 2 phases, 2 concrete units at a time. Phase 1 will utilize formula funding, and Phase 2 will utilize ARPA funds. And may I ask, ARPA stands for?
Those are restricted funds that the state has received as part of the overall improvement of public housing. There's certain capital funds that are restricted for certain projects. It's American,
Recovery.
yeah, recovery. I'll have to get the exact name of the program for you, but it's additional capital funding received to the state bond for the purpose of addressing the capital needs in public housing. And those are restricted funds that have certain particular uses. We're using those same funds to change over the switchgear here at the Housing Authority, which has outdated switchgear and electrical components. That project is being combined with the generator project to increase the new electric capacity to be able to hook those generators up through those new switchgear. So these funds will be used to do Phase 2 of the flooring, and Phase 1 will be used through force account, meaning that we're going to manage the project. We're going to be doing all of they're going to be doing the carpet, which is in the bedrooms. So over at Grace Rider, there is, when they put the floors down, way back when, they used a product very similar to like Flowable Fill. It's a very lightweight concrete, and they put that as a subfloor. Well, the problem is, over years, it is all cracked. So there's some serious work that needs to be done if you were to address that subsurface. So what we've been doing is removing the flooring, patching the concrete, and coming up with a new hard surface to be able to put down carpet. In some areas, we can put down carpet. In some areas, we can put down planking flooring, depending how deteriorated that subfloor is. But in order for us to remove all of that concrete, you'd have to relocate all the tenants at Grace Rider, and it would be a massive project. So we've been trying to figure out a way best to replace the flooring because it's desperately needed, but not have to get into removing all of that flowable fill and then having to create all new subfloors. So it's kind of a little bit of a complicated process, but this is where we are at. We're ready to carpet the bedrooms, but they're occupied, and a lot of people have a lot of stuff for the 1 bedroom that they have. So we're gonna have to tackle this like 1 room at a time, take all the tenants' belongings out, do that 1 room, put all the tenants' product back in, and kind of go room by room by room to do this replacement.
The
And then
tenants themselves will go where?
this will be a 1-day thing.
Okay.
This will kind of be coordinated, that all their stuff comes out, we rip up the floor, we patch the concrete, we put the new floor down, and we put their belongings back in the room. And we'll have to do that for each room. And then the common area, kitchen and hallways, we're hoping that the subfloor is in good enough shape that we can replace it with plank flooring. I mean, the stuff's all original over there. The flooring is horrible.
Just curious, if you run into something in the process and people are gonna be out of their units for an extended period, what would you do?
Well, we'd have to put them up in a hotel if that came to that point. If we didn't have a vacancy, we'd have to put them up in a hotel. I don't anticipate that happening. We've been dealing with this stuff for a few years now, So we kind of have down how to deal with it.
Mm.
It's been a learning curve, but we kind of have it figured out.
If you're gonna have to pull a floor level up and do that kind of patching, doesn't that require you 24 hours to set?
Well, we can pour it in the morning and we can patch it in the morning. It should be dry.
So
I mean, he's been skimming it and he's been able to keep it together enough to put the new flooring down.
Yeah.
We've done a couple, so we kind of know what we're in store for.
Is that the final cost, 11.5? I mean, I see,
That's for installation, that's not for materials.
that's not materials. Because it says here, all material to be supplied by QHA.
That's right,
QHA. And also does not include the demo.
that's right, we do the demo.
But that's all going to be packed into a day.
That's right.
And then it says prep work to be done at an hourly rate,
Mhm.
60 hours per. I don't know, it says that's $60 per, what does that mean, 60 hours per?
It's probably $60 per hour, but,
$60 per hour.
yeah. That's the bid. Yep.
When will this start?
This is gonna start immediately. And we gotta coordinate with the congregate. As you know, we don't operate the congregates, so the congregates are operated by independent companies. So we have to coordinate with them and coordinate with the tenants and the providers.
When do you expect to do this?
We're gonna start as soon as you vote.
Okay. I mean, but it's this, in December, this month.
Probably after the holidays, realistically. I mean, we have to order the materials. We don't have the materials yet. So we have to order the carpet, we have to order the flooring, and then we'll tackle it one room at a time. It's not gonna be the type of project that we come in and blow the whole thing out. You just can't do it.
You're gonna have to come back to us with paying for materials or anything like that?
Materials are already bid. We have a master bid on materials, so we don't have to come to you for that.
May I have a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve.
I'll second it. All those in
All in
favor?
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye. Carries unanimously. Number 8, motion to approve. I think this word deductible should be changed to insurance payment, and the amount should be left blank.
This is language provided by
State.
Massachusetts Department of Housing that they want every board to adopt. We didn't write this, they did.
Yeah, but I read,
This is their notice to us for you to adopt this motion.
but we don't have we have a deductible motion to approve.
We do have a deductible, so,
Correct, but we're not paying the deductible, are we?
well, no, you're approving a deductible.
Improving, yes,
Yep, so
improving the.
So what it is just so, an FYI, the state public housing, okay, is self-insured through the state.
Right,
So they insure housing authorities. So when we have a loss, we just have one. So when we have a loss, we pay, the housing authority pays the first $9,000 of that loss. The state, Massachusetts Department of Housing, comes in and pays the rest. They have a set aside every year for paying losses to agencies, but they do require the agency to pay the initial first cost. I
right.
think it used to be $5,000. I think now it's going to be $9,000.
So that's the only part I'm confused on. It says, motion to approve deductible payment of $9,000 due and payable by 12/30. Are we doing that because we had a loss?
No, you're doing that because of this notice, which is right here.
Right,
So the public housing housing notice 2023-21.
right. Yeah, I read through all of that.
It says that insurance programs, LHA deductibles will now be $9,000 per claim.
Right.
Invoices will come by email, full payment due by 12/30/23. Housing Authority should include insurance payment on the December board meeting agenda in order to make the payment in a timely manner.
Right.
They want it up front.
So what it sounds like to me is they're collecting $9,000 from each housing authority in order for this boiler, machinery, and program and crime policy.
Kind of like escrow.
Yeah, so even if we didn't have a claim though,
They're calling it a deductible, but to me, it sounds like a payment.
Yeah.
It's just poorly written.
But this is their public housing notice. Again, we just took this language right out of their writing. But it sounds to me,
I would rather say than motion to improve insurance payment.
right, but if you look on the last page,
Or advance.
if you look on the last page, it's called a retained risk liability program.
Right.
So it says that the LHA contribution to matters accepted by the retained risk liability program will remain at $3,000 per claim.
Right. So, but to me, that's a different program
Yeah,
than the initial one that we're talking about. There's two different insurance programs here. Right, because the retained risk program remains at $3,000 per claim.
Yep.
The boiler and machinery is a $9,000 per claim deductible. So I think our motion should be motion to approve insurance payment of $9,000 due and payable by 12/30/23.
I'm fine with that.
Per the public housing notice.
Per the public housing notice 2023,
Mhm.
21.
Just to cover.
So we can blame it on that.
That's just
Yeah.
to cover ourselves.
Yeah,
And if you want, Colleen, just for the sake of, why don't we give them a call tomorrow and ask them for clarification on their language? Because their language says that it's called a deductible, but they also say that it's payable by 12/30. So we should really, it should really be insurance payment, not insurance deductible. If they're collecting $9,000 from every housing authority. And that's sure what it looks like to me.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll get clarification.
okay, thank you.
And we won't issue the payment until we get clarification. How's that?
All right.
May I ask a question? Could it be held in, do you think there's a chance that they might mean that it's also held in escrow for us?
I don't.
For the
I
meeting?
can't imagine they're gonna,
They
No.
probably put it in interest-bearing accounts.
I can't
No, I
believe that they
understand what
would
you're gonna
collect
turn around and do
escrow
it.
from a housing authority when really they're giving us the money to give back to them.
Yeah,
Because we received the subsidy from them.
Oh, you already, okay.
So in essence, we're collecting the money from them only to give them back $9,000 to then hold in escrow. That wouldn't make
Okay.
sense.
Okay.
This has to be for them to go out and get a reducted rate on insurance, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Which is by collecting $9,000 from everyone,
paying it up front.
it must
Ah.
be reducing down the overall, you know, I mean, we'll get clarification.
Yeah, because insurance companies give you a discount if you pay an annual.
That's true.
Right, but remember, they're self-insured, so they are the insurance company. So we'll have to get some clarification on why they're doing this, but
All right.
they have sent this to every housing authority, and every housing authority, this is on their December agendas,
All right.
so.
Just some other general questions in reference to insurance.
Yep.
I don't think either T-Rock or Grace Rider is in a flood zone, but do we have any family properties?
We do.
We do.
And they recently, so another state program that they offered that we participated in was flood evaluation and potential risk. So they came out and they evaluated all of our family units that sit within flood zones, and they're doing evaluated risks through the state to figure out what they really want to do with all these properties that sit in flood zones. And they're evaluating that. We did participate. They did come out and evaluate all our properties, as they are a lot of places in the state. And they're trying to figure out, you know, if any, action they should be taking and what those actions are.
Okay,
So they've already gone and evaluated our properties.
thank you.
Yeah.
And then, do we suggest to the families and tenants to procure their own tenant insurance?
It is right in their lease, and it is disclosed to them upfront when they sign the lease, yes.
Okay,
Most of the tenants do not take that option, but it is explained to them.
That's personal property.
Correct.
all right.
The building and the structure is insured by the state.
But a house like the one down on Ocean Street, probably
Insured,
flood insurance,
insured by the state.
through their state. How about the residents there? They understand that they could lose their belongings? And
It's in the lease, yeah. We can't insure personal property.
All right. And then it says that each LHA has to, let's see, the state cannot secure higher limits without uniform computer safety measures in place across all the LHAs. So I'm assuming we're in compliance with whatever safety requirements.
They are.
And then when we do our inspections, you know, they list in here a number of things we should be looking for. I'm assuming those things are on our checklist.
Every one of them.
Thank you. And then they say LHAs may also consider use of stovetop fire extinguishing devices to prevent cooking fires. We have those, or should we?
On order.
They're on order. Thank you. And then who at QHA administers the insurance claim program?
Say, I'm sorry?
Who is our administrator at QHA for the insurance program? Is that Grace or?
Well, that would be John, as far as the payment, as far as what goes. The administrator would be me.
You would be the administrator?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on this item? May I have a motion then?
So,
We can amend that language?
Yes.
Yeah, motion to approve item 8 with the amendment, change the word deductible to insurance payment. Is that it?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes unanimously. Next item is the discussion and review of the 2024 performance management review by EOHLC and potential response to the PMR. So that potential response is by the Board of Directors.
Mhm.
Has everybody had a chance to read the PMR? Any items you want to discuss on it?
No, not really, it's just a couple of, I haven't got it with me, but it's just a couple of items I did.
We don't have that, right?
Yeah.
I have it here.
Because I didn't read, I just want to comment to say that I didn't read through it, and I was looking, I'm still looking for guidance on how to respond to it, and where the input goes. Because I saw a bunch of metrics in there, but I didn't really see,
It was just two
like what we're
items.
supposed to do with that information.
So
I'm
there-
sorry, I just,
Yeah, on an
I'm
overall
not
basis.
preparing how I'm supposed to respond to it.
Okay,
So DHCD just came out with a training. This is all new, by the way, so that everybody's aware, we're all on the same page. We never had boards respond before the PMRs, and we've never had this response that they've set up. They just set up a statewide training. There's 2 days that executive directors are going to be going to these trainings. I signed up for one of them because they want us on the housing authority side to respond also. There's never been any direction or a training or anything for us to do so. So that training is coming up. There's 2 different days that executive directors will be participating in that training. So I hope I can bring you more information on this one. But this whole part is new. So I really can't guide you, tell you what to do.
So board, I'm sorry, not to interrupt, so board members can get this training too, can sign up for it?
This one is for executive directors.
Okay.
I'm not sure they have a board one yet. And maybe they're relying on us to pass the information along to you. Like I said, I'll know more after I take the training.
And when is that scheduled for?
I think it's Thursday, maybe?
All right, so at next board meeting?
At the next board meeting, I'll have more information on this.
Overall, I'd like to congratulate you for the performance on the PMR.
Thank you.
You know, I know that in previous years, we have had performance review evaluations done on the Marshfield Housing Authority, and the board has spent hours going through those performance reviews and, you know, responding to them, you know, item by item by item where we were not in compliance. So again, congratulations
Thank you.
to you as our managing agent for your performance. There are a couple of small things I think that we have to, you know, eventually respond to.
I can tell you what the big one is. The big one is what's called TAR, Tenants Accounts Receivable. And it's, again, it's another new item. We have the tenants accounts receivable. They wanted it presented to them when they came, on the day that they came, and they wanted anybody who owes the housing authority to have entered into a repayment agreement or be subject to eviction. And we had agreements with the folks who owed us back rent, but it wasn't materialized to a written document contract, which they want, which we now have all of those in place, so that next year when the PMR is scheduled, they actually want you to have copies of the repayment agreements, and they want to see that the tenants are in compliance with the repayment agreements. So, not to say that we shouldn't have those, I'm just saying that this entire PMR process is a new process. It began as a 1 to 2 year non-published process because they're trying to get up to speed, and they're trying to get housing authorities up to speed on this reporting and this data. There are a lot of housing authorities that don't have any repayment agreements. There are a lot of housing authorities that have outstanding rents that aren't doing anything on collecting on them. So these process a statewide process, and they're developed for 52,000 units of housing. It's going to take, and they realize it's going to take a couple of years before everybody gets up to speed on what their expectations are and how this PMR process is going to work. So we didn't have any knowledge ahead of time that they wanted the actual documents of tenants' rent agreements in written signed format. We didn't have any knowledge that they were going to expect to have that presented to them when they came. But again, this is a learning process that we're undertaking and that we're participating in, and we will make sure that when they come, we have spelled out signed agreements with the residents. We have a very small outstanding balance compared to any housing authority, so.
If I may, Mr. Chair. I also noticed that on the website, tenants can't transfer or move within the property if their rent isn't up to date. So it's already on the website as far as,
Right, if you're not
so I
attending-
commend you for that.
If you're not
It's-
attending in good standing,
Right.
there are certain things that you would not be permitted to do.
Right, and it's already, you're ahead of the game on that one.
Mhm.
And then I think the only other negative comment we had was because we submitted a report a few days late
Right,
on a quarterly basis.
right.
So those are the only two that I noticed.
And that happens frequently. I mean, depending on board votes, depending on the dates of our meetings, depending on when things are due. I mean, you see, sometimes we have to submit in things even before we have a meeting, but we have to meet the deadlines that the state sets, and we only have a meeting once a month, so it's difficult to always coordinate all of the dates for everybody together. But in the end, we're very transparent to get everything to you that we need to get to you.
Do we want to send a response? Because you've...
I don't even think, I'm not even sure it's necessary this year. This is very, very new, but I'll, like I said, why don't we wait till the next board meeting and I attend this training so that I can ask these questions and kind of get this information.
All right.
These are all published, right? I've seen them, but now I can't find them.
This year is published. The last one was not published. So what they're doing is, they're trying this out. It was originally going to be every year published, then it went to every 2 years published. Originally, they were going to do 1 year non-published, and they actually did 2 years non-published. So again, it's kind of an ongoing developing program.
And I may add COVID in between.
And COVID came in between. And what the real goal here is to establish transparency for all housing authorities throughout the state. So that you could log on to the DHCD website and look and see what are the troubled agencies, what are the agencies that aren't doing reporting, what are the agencies that aren't collecting rents, what are the agencies that are being poorly run. The idea is to make that information transparent. So.
Colleen, would you just make a note for next meeting, put that on the agenda again? You know, if we need to make a response. Thank you.
Yep.
Item 10, discussion and review of the bylaw template to determine if MHA will adopt and/or modify the template to recreate and/or modify the MHA bylaws. So thank you, Colleen, again for doing further research and finding.
That was sheer luck.
This was
I found the original.
This was literally like finding one of those buried treasures.
I mean, it was really pure luck.
It was in a file
It was in a
that was
file.
labeled something completely different, just attached to another document. I mean,
It was.
finding this was like
It was.
finding a
it was
needle in a
lucky.
haystack.
Yeah.
So are we gonna get a copy of that?
You got one, didn't you? I sent it to everyone.
I'm not sure if
I
it was,
didn't have it in my pack.
I didn't have it
Did I
yet.
send it to everyone? I apologize, I thought for sure I sent it to everyone.
I thought it was,
I thought we sent
I
it
didn't know if you sent it electronically.
via email. I thought,
I'm not sure it was sent to everybody.
I apologize.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Okay.
So what,
Do you want to print it out and have you want
I
us
can
to
send it.
mail you a copy?
I
so
think,
you can have it before the next meeting so that you can look at it. You
yeah,
have time
I
to
think
look
we
at it.
should email a copy of the original. And then also,
My apologies, I really thought I had done that. I apologize.
and then also email a copy of the, I'm not sure if everybody got a copy of the Hingham and the Hanson template.
Northampton, true.
And then,
Yeah.
right, and that was a good one.
Yeah.
So would you mind emailing that to Colleen and then she could
I
include
think I
that?
have, I think I
The
have.
Northampton
I
one?
got that one too, I thought I had Northampton on there, swap it out.
So then we could compare the Northampton, the Hingham, the Hanson,
Yep,
and the
and the
original
original.
Marshfield. And it may
That was
take us 2
hand-typed.
meetings or so to go through all of that, but they were pretty interesting.
I think you wanna kind of pace yourselves for policies and
Yeah.
these kind of things, because these discussions seem to take a while.
Right,
And when you load up, 4 and 5 of these at a meeting, you're gonna be here for an awful long time. I think you might wanna roll it out on a
roll it
slower
out,
pace.
okay. All right,
And if I may add too, some of these are templates from the state, some of these policies.
That's right.
From, yeah.
They're from the
Yeah,
state.
like the grievance policy.
Yeah, and then
That's
fair
not
housing
law.
plan, the
The
language
fair
access
housing
plan.
plan, the grievance plan, some of these are provided by the state for you to adopt.
Yeah.
And when you adopt them, those are state-written policies.
all right.
Those aren't written by the housing authority.
Yeah, and the
So,
AWA
did-
certificate, those are all mandated.
Right. So the fair housing plan, the Administrative Fair Housing Act, the reasonable accommodation policy, the reasonable accommodation form, those are all state
Language
policies
access. And language access.
and language access. So everything that you have under A, those are state policies that the housing authority adopts.
Okay, so, well, let's just go back to item 11 first,
Yep.
and then we'll, so on the item, did everybody get a chance to read the finance rent payment policy? So under 11A, 11A and 11B are exactly the same.
They're the same thing.
Mhm.
So has everybody had a chance to read the finance rent payment policy?
Yes.
For the board's knowledge, A, B, C, D, and E, you all recently voted on. These are recently adopted policies.
Because this one's, when I printed it, it said October 5, 2020.
Yep.
Right.
That's recent.
Oh, okay.
That's
3
very
years
recent.
recent. But you, this board adopted A, B,
Right.
C, D, and E.
Okay.
These were brought in by us.
Right.
Um,
So the only comment I had on the rent collection policy is item 2 says due date on the first day of each month. And then item 3 says on the 5th day of each month,
If you have any
If you
stage
have a
withdrawal.
it's
if you have a direct withdrawal.
Right.
Right,
Okay,
There's a
so-
grace period
So we're
until-
okay with that?
Yeah.
yes,
All right.
yep. Yeah, so A, B, C, D, and E was all vetted out through the board. We had public hearings, we held tenant association meetings, we held meetings with the tenants, we had a public hearing process here, and then you adopted them all. Those
Right.
were all the initial policies that you adopted.
So the only other question I have on this is, do we need to include the tenant's agreement, if a tenant falls behind in rent payment, and then they sign the agreement, is that agreement in the lease, or should it be part of our rent payment policy?
Well, really, a tenant shouldn't be behind in rent. So the idea of having a repayment agreement is really at the benefit of the tenant, because technically, the housing authority should be moving for eviction. So the idea of a tenant repayment agreement is for the purpose of trying to save their tenancy. So there's nothing that requires us to have that, and I would not want that to be part of a policy. It's more or less the housing authority trying to save the tenant's tenancy by working with the tenant. It's a step that we go through to try to preserve their tenancy without evicting anybody that falls behind.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, how many people are on direct withdrawal?
52.
Pardon?
52.
Is that a percentage, as a percentage, is it like
Half.
half? Okay. And the other ones are like dropping off checks or mailing them?
Mailing.
We're
We
gonna
don't
be
accept
getting,
any checks.
we're gonna be getting away, it's gonna be going 100% to lockbox eventually.
They're already there.
Because it doesn't give a, it says P.O. Box was blank.
They get a letter.
Everybody gets
They
the
get a
letter,
letter, and
right?
they get their coupons. and
They get a coupon package
Coupon.
to submit in the coupon with their rent, and then it goes to a lockbox, and then that money gets transferred from the lockbox into the housing authority operating account.
And if they run out of coupons, they can get additional coupons from the
Yeah.
office.
Can I just ask, what led to us reviewing all these policies, even the ones that we've done recently?
When I took the training, I thought somewhere in the training for the Board of Commissioners, it said that we're supposed to review the policies on a yearly basis.
And re-adopt or reapprove,
And then reapprove.
I don't think
Don't think
you
you
need
need to
to
read.
read.
No, because that will that opens up a whole another can of worms, because before you would change any of these policies, you need to have a public hearing with the residents, and you need to invite resident input before you modify any of these policies. So I think what they were trying to explain in the training, if I can kind of offer my opinion of what I know, is that one of the responsibility of the Board of Commissioners is to set policy and to update policies as needed. I don't necessarily think you need to review every policy every year, and I don't think you need to modify every policy every year, and I don't think you need to adopt them every year. They're in effect so long as you don't modify them or change them. So these policies are in effect next year without you having to adopt them or update them. They've been in effect since 2023, or 2020 when you adopted them. It doesn't mean that you need to re-adopt them every year. They get, when a tenant signs a lease, they get a copy of these policies, and these policies are explained and disclosed to the tenant before they sign a lease. But if there are any concerns or anything that you see that you think we should, reopen for discussion or start to have public hearings with the tenants, that would be a whole different process.
Is that?
Yeah, I was just curious.
So may I ask, say the new commissioners, did you read all the policies of MHA before I put it on the agenda?
I did, and they're on your website.
They are.
I did on the
You did
website
On
before,
the website?
when
You
I
read
first-
all the policies?
when I first came on. I
So-
went through the website.
So that's a whole nother thing that, so there's been, over the last several years, I would say over the last 5 years, really, there's been a lot of legislative updates regarding public housing. So there was a public housing reform bill that was passed, and there has been a big push to get housing authorities to be transparent and to have information accessible to residents. So, I mean, if you go back 7 years, there's a lot of housing authorities that didn't even have websites. There's a lot of, you didn't have CHAMP, you didn't have a centralized waiting list, you didn't have the requirement of having a website, you didn't have the requirement of posting your policies on a website, you didn't have PMRs. A lot of this stuff is evolving. A lot of this stuff is new information and changes in public housing to really make a push for transparency and to make a push for better managed authorities. And that all comes in with the whole idea of regionalization. It all falls under that housing reform bill, which was in an effort to try to contain costs for managing housing authorities and better manage the authorities than they were previously being managed. So hopefully that gives some more insight as to all the changes that have been taking place and kind of puts it in perspective of how it's going.
Okay, thank you. So anybody have any other comments then on any one of the policies from A through E? On item 11? Seeing none. Then item 12, A, B, and C. Based upon the comments that we've heard previously, is there a need for a review of those policies at our future meetings?
Do we need to just, doesn't say vote here on the agenda, but do we need to just vote to leave those 5 in place, or? No?
I don't think it's
Okay,
No, they're already in place.
okay. As far as discussion on 12, yeah, I would like to, I haven't had a chance to go through some of these other ones here. I think that looks like a good schedule to break it up, as James suggested, to break it up into 3 tranches.
I think James is suggesting to break it up into even more.
I think you taking this on, well, I think what you should, I think you should consider taking off the ones that are state written and state adopted. Because we can't really modify those.
No, the only reason I don't want to take them off is if any commissioner has not read them. I think some of these are pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah, I mean, as far as
Interesting,
reading
yeah.
goes, as far as reading goes and the board being aware of what the policies are, I think it's important that you read the policies and understand them. But as far as modifying policies that are presented by the state for the purpose of all housing authorities adopting
We're
them,
not gonna
I
modify
wouldn't,
those.
I mean, those have been vetted out by attorneys, those have been, you know, they've been presented through the Department of Housing. I would suggest that we stay away from those policies.
So how can we be sure that we've got access to all of these?
Well, these,
I mean, some I
they're all
recognize.
online.
Yeah,
They're
we
all on
want
the
these.
MHA website.
Yeah, these are on our
For
website.
some reason.
Go through, finance,
No, I
administration,
yeah.
that's where they all
Mhm.
are.
And
Some are
then residents as well,
Yeah,
and then it gets broken down into the pet policies and.
Some of them are pertain to the residents, those would be under residents.
Are the state, are there's top 5 on there?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
So
yep,
and
I may just forgotten.
can I suggest that maybe, the board members read the policies, and if they have concerns,
Right.
submit that policy to the chair to be put on the agenda for a future meeting, rather than have them all,
yeah.
just.
That's fine.
I mean, I think our policies are in pretty good shape because we took a lot of time when we first took over. I mean, there was basically no policies in place. And I mean, most of these were recently created and mostly recently done. So I think you're gonna find that the policies are in pretty good shape.
Everybody agree with the suggestion by John?
Yes.
Okay, great. Item number 13, discussion and potential vote on the reorganization of the MHA BOC. So when I was reading all the various bylaws, each of them had the position of chair, vice chair, treasurer, assistant treasurer, and secretary. And the secretary is always the executive director.
or his
So they're the ex officio secretary of any housing authority,
or his designee, or his designee.
or is designated.
Yep.
designated, Right. So I know, we need a chair. The reason for a vice chair is that in the event the chair is not present or vacates the position, then the vice chair takes over. We need a treasurer, and the same reason for an assistant treasurer. From what I understand is that if the treasurer vacates the position or is not in attendance and something needs to be signed, then the assistant treasurer can take over those duties. To my knowledge, the MHA has never had an assistant treasurer. We've always had chair, vice chair, treasurer,
Kevin
and
used to be,
secretary.
many years ago. Kevin
He was the
listed as-
assistant?
He was listed as the treasurer,
He was
Treasurer,
treasurer.
but not as, do we
Right.
have an
Right.
assistant?
not an assistant.
Right, so now, currently we don't have a chair. I'm the vice chair acting as the chair, and Helen is the treasurer. So first I guess we have to decide, do we want to have all of these positions? Or, do we not want to have an assistant treasurer position?
May I, Chair, Mr. Chair, may I ask how much activity does our treasurer currently have? How much activity have you had in the past year, let's say?
I think I've signed one check. And
One check in the past year? Okay.
It's more just titles than
Yeah.
it is jobs.
So what would happen if the treasurer is not available to sign that?
The chairman can
Usually the
sign.
chair would.
The
The chair can sign. Yeah.
We actually usually put all the board members on as signatures in the event that one can't sign and the other one can sign. So,
The
like I
executive
said,
board.
these are general positions by what's recommended for housing authorities to adopt. The position doesn't necessarily mean the treasurer has to do anything other than any other board member. But it's for the purposes of reorganization. And I'm sorry, but I've got an emergency, so I'm paging out an emergency as we speak.
So what does the board feel? Do you want to an assistant treasurer or no need for an assistant treasurer?
I don't think there's a need for it.
I don't,
I agree. I don't think there's a need for it, and I think that it would be just complicated if we keep changing. I think we want to rotate through some of these positions, and there's only 5 of us, 6 of us.
Well, I still would like to know what the duties of these
So, yeah, that was
So in
going
other words,
to.
I can't decide on whether or not we should have these until I understand what the duties are. Like, for example, I noticed you're signing checks tonight, Terry.
Right. So
Now,
let
is that just default?
me, once in a while,
Or
the
is
chair
just-
signs. I have to find my other folder, bylaws, and I can read the duties.
Yeah, the bylaws have the duties, and for updating the bylaws, you know,
Right.
we could define those.
Helen, do you handle 100% increase in the duties?
I think Helen should take all the positions.
Oh, no, thank you. I write enough checks during the week at the DAV.
I'm sure you do.
So the duties of the chair. The chair shall preside at all meetings of the Housing Authority Commissioners, except as otherwise authorized by resolution of the board. The chair shall sign all contracts, deeds, and other instruments voted on by the board. In the absence or incapacity of the treasurer, the chair shall act in the capacity of and perform the duties of the treasurer. At each meeting, the chair may submit such recommendations and information as he or she may consider proper concerning the business affairs and policies of the authority. The vice chair shall perform the duties of the chair in the absence or incapacity of the chair, or in case of a vacancy in the office of the chair. The treasurer shall sign all orders and checks for the payments of money, and shall pay out and disperse such monies pursuant to the direction of the board. The board by resolution may designate one or more commissioners to countersign such orders and checks. The treasurer shall serve without compensation other than payment of necessary expenses. Now, it didn't say the chair or vice chair shall serve without compensation, but
I noticed
Put that on the agenda.
That's a DHCD regulation.
And small agencies generally just have the 3, the chair, vice chair, and the treasurer, in most small agencies.
And then the other ones are just listed as board members.
Yeah. And generally, those are the 3 that have signature powers, as well as the executive director and the director of finance.
I've served on boards with more than 20 board members, and we've only had those 3 positions also, a much greater amount of members.
so that was definition of bylaws for one of
Those
the
the only 3
authorities.
positions described. Which one was that?
That was Northampton.
Okay.
Now here in the Hingham, it says the treasurer and the assistant treasurer shall perform the duties of the treasurer in the absence or incapacity of the treasurer, and in the case of vacancy of the officer of the office of the treasurer.
And again,
They also
don't
say
have
the
it.
treasurer and assistant treasurer shall give bond for the faithful performance duties, and any member elected to the office of the treasurer or assistant treasurer shall serve without compensation or other than payment of necessary expenses.
And they don't have an assistant treasurer. They just have the chair, the vice chair, and the treasurer.
Right.
Well, there's a reason why they're split up. Why you have a chair, why you have a vice chair, why you have a treasurer, et cetera, et cetera. In other words, they don't want somebody acting, on behalf of all. There's a logic and a fiduciary reason behind why the offices are separate. And there's no harm in having assistants because that could happen. I'm a little confused about definition of secretary. You say it's the executive assistant director is ex officio or
Right,
is
so
it designated
here
as
it's,
secretary?
this is in the Hingham, and it's stated in every other one that I read, under executive director. The executive director of the authority shall be the ex officio secretary and shall have general supervision over the administration of its business and affairs, subject to the direction of the authority. The executive director shall be charged with the management of the housing projects of the authority. The executive director shall have care and custody of all funds of the authority and shall deposit the same in the name of the authority in such banks or banks as the authority may elect. The executive director shall keep regular books of accounts showing receipts and expenditures and shall render to the authority at each regular meeting or upon the request of the authority an account of all financial transactions and a report on the financial condition of the authority. And that's, if I remember correctly, that was standard language in every
That's correct.
bylaw that I read.
Right, because the executive director needs to sign all of the certifications for the state. It needs to sign all of, basically, every time you have a meeting, I sign the minutes. And I record what you have done and the votes that you have taken. And I, as the secretary, record and document that, sign that, and we keep that into record.
Well, I think like we said, we should all look at those bylaws and then adjust Marshfield's bylaws according to what we want. But as far as now, I think you're doing a great job as acting chair. I don't know if you need that to be reaffirmed right now or anyway, or we should maybe get copies of the bylaws that last week just discussed and then put that on the agenda and solidify our bylaws. What do you think?
The other thing is term of office too. It's,
Right.
Yeah.
We've gone a long time without changing in the past. And so we should look at that in the bylaws and,
In I think in every bylaw that I read, it was a one-year term.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the elections took place either the month of the town election or the meeting after the town election.
That's usually how all the housing authorities do it. They usually do it the month after the election, because people are voted on, new members come on, and then they reorganize.
So I would say let's get the bylaws, let's have a draft discussion at our next meeting, and then hopefully by February, we'll be able to adopt our new bylaws.
I agree.
I would even say by January, couldn't we?
Well, that's
That way
why
we start the full year.
we should have a draft. Let's have a draft. Try to nail down the draft.
Do they need a public hearing? They need a public
Could
hearing.
be.
If they're gonna change the
They're gonna be
bylaws,
changed.
they may have to have a public hearing. I'm not, I don't usually do board bylaws, but
I can-
usually when you change bylaws, I believe you might have to have a public hearing to
So do you
Discuss-
want to post that
to
as a public
discuss-
hearing?
discuss the changes that you're
Well,
proposing.
you propose the changes first. Can't vote on it,
Then
and have the
a
public hearing, and then you can.
Yeah,
and
so what you might wanna do is
Do it with your
discuss
meeting.
the changes at the next meeting, which will be January,
January.
Mhm.
and then advertise for a public hearing in February. Instead of the board meeting being at 5 o'clock, have the board meeting at 4:30. Have 4:30 to 5 o'clock, your public hearing for the residents to discuss the changes that you're proposing, and then you could vote them at the meeting at 5 o'clock when you start. You could then vote in those changes.
A public hearing would be necessarily a public announcement, not just limited to the community, to the public.
Correct.
So it would have to be at a time that's convenient for, like, town-wide, basically.
I don't think so. We don't usually advertise town-wide. Usually
Well, it
it's
gets-
the residents of the authority. I don't necessarily know if there'd be community involvement in your bylaws.
I think there would
But,
be.
I mean, we certainly advertise it. I've never seen that before in any agency, but.
But is that-
It would be advertised pursuant to open meeting.
Correct.
So-
Right, yes.
Right.
So it would be under
Yeah,
Mass
advertising
State law, open meeting law, so it would have to be
Yeah,
But
posted on the
Therefore,
town
right.
hall website,
Right, and
posted
it would
in the
be.
town.
Yeah,
But that is
But it doesn't-
dependent on what we decide next, on January,
right.
if we're gonna change anything or not.
Yeah, January, we can decide what we're gonna change, if anything.
Yeah, and then present it to the residents.
No
Post it
changes
for
on the
February.
meeting.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Everybody in agreement?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I just have to find the agenda again.
Well,
discussion on winter preparation for residents.
14. Thank you. Discussion on winter preparation for residents and facilities.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to cover that in my executive summary for you.
Okay.
Old business.
Any old or new business? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 16. Any other business not anticipated by the chairman 48 hours in advance of the posted meeting? I have none. And item 17 is the executive director's report.
Okay, we pumped out the septic systems at T-Rock Gardens and Grace Rider. We're still waiting for those projects to be bid and still waiting for the final documents from the state to allow those to go to bid. We did some holiday decorations. The tenants participated in decorations with Ellie, and they've had a whole bunch of holiday events, and the tenants are absolutely in the festive mood, which is wonderful.
In Tammy.
In Tammy, yeah. We completed the vacancy at Grace Rider number 2. We installed a whole new floor there. We completed the vacancy at 15B. We did the monthly food delivery. We were able to get all the exterior door frames painted before the cold came upon us. We finished the community energy upgrade at T-Rock family units in Grace Rider on the weatherization, the water saving shower heads, aerators, caulking, and electrical gaskets and so on. We did all of our preparation for snow removal. We tuned up the grasshopper, serviced the grasshopper, serviced the snow blowers and all the snow equipment, and we are ready for the first snow. We did up the fall cleanup, and we're getting ready to start the congregate flooring install that you folks ordered on tonight. And other than that, all is well.
May I
Yes.
ask, so the winter preparation you were talking about is that everything is ready to go?
Yes.
May I, Mr. Chair, add to that, or not add to that, but go back to item number 14? I had
Yes.
wanted
Yeah,
to,
we added that.
oh, which one?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I had wondered if it would be beneficial for the residents to have maybe our local police department come and give a, kind of a, you know, be prepared by, I don't know what they would say as far as, you know, stocking food, and just like personal preparedness for the winter.
We did
What would
send
happen
around,
if we lose electricity?
we just sent around a Be Prepared newsletter.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was part of the December calendar that got mailed out to all the residents and had a
Excellent.
preparation list for tenants for the winter to be prepared, so it's been,
Okay.
it was
What's the generator status now?
The generator status is in design. When it comes out of design, it will be bid and publicly procured, and then it has to be combined with the project that's being designed for the switchgear upgrade also. So they have to happen simultaneously, because the electrical components that we have are outdated and it would not sustain hooking up to a new generator. So this is all going to kind of be one big giant upgrade.
And that's on time frame is what, 24?
Yeah, it's safe to say that we would be in construction in '24. That's one separate one for Grace Ryder and one separate one here for T-Rock.
Anything else?
Keep your fingers crossed.
No, I just wanted to make sure, and it was already taken care of, so thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
I said, keep your fingers crossed.
Oh, good. Tom, anything else? Alan?
No?
I just want to take a minute to wish everybody happy holidays, the residents and the board. Happy holidays. Wish you all merry
Thank you.
happy holidays.
Yes.
Stay safe,
Cookies,
stay well.
Cookies, cupcakes.
Yes.
Cake,
My
cupcake.
wife baked a bunch of cookies for you,
Yeah.
and
That's sweet.
got a little cake made for you for tomorrow, so you guys enjoy and happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to wish happy holidays to you, James, and
Thank you.
Colleen, and all of the staff at Quincy Housing Authority. And again, thank you for what you've accomplished with the Marshfield Housing Authority.
I will invite you. I have a annual staff party every year. It's this Friday. It's at 3 o'clock. It's at the China Restaurant in Quincy. It starts at 3 o'clock. It goes from 3 to 6. It's for all the employees. The housing authorities will all be closing at 2:30. In the event that you can't stop by and say hello to all the staff, they will all be present
China
Sounds
Star.
terrific.
in their festive mood. I'm sorry?
At the China Star.
At the China
Sorry,
Restaurant.
It's not the Chinese.
But for the board
China.
members, if
Thank
you
you.
folks wanted to stop by, you're welcome to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
And I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.